Audrey, are we expecting more people to join?
We are preparing for the presentation later in the meeting.
Okay.
So, could we get? We want to hold on just one.
Okay, just let me know when you're ready.
Hi, sorry, I'm here. It's Leslie.
Leslie,
Hi, sorry, I had a lesson go over. I like the homepage. That looks cool.
it's part of the presentation.
Like it. Okay. There we go. Now I can get back to my agenda.
Okay, Bonnie, we're ready.
Okay. Well, let's call the meeting to order. First of all, the mission statement is to develop, advance, and nurture all facets of the arts to enhance the quality of life for Meridian residents and its visitors. So with that, I would like to do a roll call. Lizzie? Lizzie? I see you. You must be muted.
Lizzie is here.
Jessica?
Present.
Natalie?
Here.
I'm present. Leslie?
Here.
Maria? Jennifer?
Here.
Thomas?
Present.
Rhea?
Here.
Joe? So can we have an adoption to the agenda, please?
Madam Chair, I move that we adopt the agenda.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Okay, the agenda has been adopted. Let's have an approval of the minutes from the July 8th meeting. Do I
And
have a motion?
Madam Chair, this is Tom. I just want to check in case there was, before you have a motion for that, is it a typo or was it really on page 3 in the packet that we received? And Audrey, jump in and keep me honest. This is why I don't know if it was a typo. You have Jessica Peters made a motion to adopt agenda and then seconded by Jessica Peters.
That's probably a typo. I can correct it. I'll go back to the record and the recording and see who made the second.
Thank you, Tom.
Sure.
So the back to the approval of the minutes of the meeting with that change. Do we have
Tom motions to approve with that revision.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes have been approved from the July 8th meeting with the correction. Next is the approval of the monthly financial statement.
Madam Chair, before we do that, I have a question about the statement.
Okay,
So I guess this question is for Audrey. I noticed in the list of the transactions that we have paid Sector 17, at least part of their mural, it looks like, or maybe both parts of that. But I know the future of using the Boise Co-op for a mural is still on the fence. So since we've already paid Sector 17, what happens if our agreement with the co-op falls through?
So the payments that we've made so far are for the design. we'll do part 3 and part 4 of those payments for the installation. So we've basically bought the design from the artist. We just need to confirm the location. So if the Boise Co-op confirms, then we'll move forward with that. If they don't, we still technically have bought the design. We just won't have a location for it.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other notes on that? Or can we proceed with the approval of the financial statement with a motion?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the monthly financial statement.
A second, please.
Tom seconds.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The monthly financial statement has been approved. So let's move on to reports. The initial gallery subcommittee minutes from the last meeting. Audrey, were you going to go through those?
I'll leave it up to the subcommittee chair to make their reports.
Okay. Natalie, would you mind doing that?
Sure. Yep. We, you don't need me to go through the minutes, just summarize, or
Sure.
Madam Chair? Okay. We discussed our upcoming gallery artists. This month just switched. We have Wendy Blickenstaff, Claire Nelson, and Lori Borer, and they were installed, and the opening was last Friday. Audrey said we had about 16 people come, and then we also worked on, for the meeting, filling in some holes for our next year's calendar. We had most of the calendar filled in besides 3D artists. We were still looking for some. We had a lot of holes for those. But we came up with a list of new artists to reach out to and to try and get our calendar finished up for 2022.
Okay. There was one question that came up that I didn't see addressed, and that was if in the past we had used the gallery for a backup for the concerts on Broadway. And Audrey, I don't know if you want to explain that. My understanding is that you said that we would not be using that for a backup. Is that correct?
That decision is still to be determined. We're working through that process to see how that decision is made.
Okay.
Madam Chair, Audrey, the precedent has been set to use that gallery in the case of storms. And it's worked very well in the past. We had a group in from New York that if we wouldn't have had that gallery available, it would have been a completely canceled performance. And we've gotten $7,000 in extra grants to bring the players out. We'd had a cello borrowed. It would have been quite a loss to not have that gallery available. So it's with artists that have prepared and traveled, we would need, if we don't offer an inclement weather clause and a replacement, then we would need to consider what percentage of pay, if it's a force majeure that causes the cancellation, we would basically need to pay them for no concert. So having the replacement available is good. It's tricky without a production manager to make it happen, but the sound techs that we're working with are good. So yeah, it would depend on, I need to relook at the contract that we currently hold with the artist. If you could send that to me so I can look over it, that would be great, because we might have to add some things and change it to make it fair. That's rough. I mean, hopefully we won't have any weather. It's only happened twice.
So if that was
This is
happen,
Emily.
What?
This is Emily. I'm probably a voice from above.
Oh, hi.
Hi. I
Hi.
just realized I didn't log on myself, but I can speak to what the contracts say regarding cancellation. The cancellation is left to the city whether or not to cancel the event. And it does, we are on the hook to pay the artist the full price, even if the concert is canceled. So that doesn't answer the question regarding the use of the gallery, but that answers the question of what our contracts say.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Because that's kind of what I remembered. So yeah, well, we'll think about it. We can go over the details of how we made that happen with, the sound company that we did before. And then the hours, you have to call it soon enough so that the sound can readjust for the different space, but it's doable. So anyway, yeah, that's it from me.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Emily.
So Audrey, do you expect that we will have something on that by the October meeting?
Yes, we can report back on any updates we have there.
Okay, thank you. Natalie, did you have anything more to add to the gallery committee?
I was going to make a note that we are doing our opening in September on the first Friday as usual. And then we will also have the gallery open during the art sip of Art Week. So there'll be 2 evenings that it's open besides our daily Monday to Friday business hours. So
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, let's move on to the Events and Outreach Subcommittee meeting or subcommittee report.
Yeah, we haven't, Madam Chair, Audrey, we haven't met since, but we have been working forward. Audrey's been helping me work forward with getting the concert set up. We talked about, everything with the Art Week, and we have all the groups lined up for those I like to call them mini classes, but the small classes. We also talked about some venues using Generations Plaza, and possibly I talked to James Fullenwider to see if he would do a night of poetry, which he's agreed to as part of Art Week. Audrey, did I get you his contact information?
You did.
I think I did, right. And he would probably do that in front of Joe Borden's law office. So that would give us another venue to use for that. So that's just moving along really smoothly, I think. We are working towards the, hold on, I'm getting it. We also got the mariachi band. We've got all bands are booked now, so we don't have any holes. Still working on getting the openers. And Audrey, I'll have to talk with you a little bit more about that. I haven't been able to get in touch with David Stolhand. They're just, all the symphonies are just kind of ramping back up, and they have their summer show. So I need to ask David about what young artists he has available this year, and talk to Mary and Autumn about finding 2 to make the 25th is going to be lots of moving pieces. And so the mariachi band will be coming from Boise. So we'll have a possible second opening act to give them a little bit more time to travel safely, but we're looking good to go. I mean, in general, Audrey, do you have anything to add?
No, I do not.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah. Yeah, I got the chalk art competition. So things are moving forward.
Great, thank you, Leslie.
Mhm.
So next is the Public Art Subcommittee. Jessica, would you like to do your report?
Sure. So we met on July 27th. We spent, I would say, probably the majority of our meeting discussing the 10-mile trailhead. So there was some confusion in terms of the process for selecting the piece, and some confusion about the outcomes and what the next steps are. So I think it was a really productive meeting. We had some good conversations about kind of what went wrong and what we can do to improve the process in the future. So I really appreciate, we had a whole bunch of folks from the city at the meeting with us, and that was really great to have them explain to us kind of what their process looks like on their end as well. So productive meeting. Our next steps for the Trailhead. So we have a Public Art Subcommittee meeting next week, and we are going to discuss the piece that was selected and identify any amendments that we'd like to see, any changes that we would like to work with the artist on. And I believe that Audrey is going to work with the artist on that. And so we'll have some discussions back and forth about possibly making those changes, and hopefully we'll have a good sort of new version. I don't think that we're going to need to vote on it as a full commission again, but we will, any changes that are made, we'll present the final design as part of my report at some point in the future when we get to that point. So stay tuned for that. I can speak to the public art plan, and then Audrey, I'll ask you to speak to where we are with the mural series, because I think you probably have more up-to-date information than I have. We're still working through our public art plan. We've identified various planning pieces that we have that we need to kind of flesh out that we'll use for our planning process for now. So we're looking at having another workshop. I think it would be just for the Public Art Subcommittee in October. And so we'll have kind of a half-day session, and we'll really hash out some of those ideas about where we see public art in Meridian heading, and what ideas we have, and how we want to provide some structure and some brainstorming to that. So we'll also share the results of that probably in a future report. And Audrey, if you want to speak to the mural series.
Yes, so Madam Chair, the mural series is plugging along. The Meridian Cycles has by far been very slick and easy. The property owners have been very cooperative, so it's going forward. Ben Conkle is preparing to do his installation next month. The Meridian Boise Co-op, we're still waiting to hear back from those property owners on the easement agreement. Sector 17 is prepared, but once we get the all clear from the property owners, we'll be ready to move forward there. Like I said, I think I said last meeting, we got a soft commitment from the Meridian Library District to do the third mural on the new Unbound Library branch. And we're going to draft an agreement with them so that everything's clear from the beginning, and we'll start the design process this fall.
Awesome. Thanks, Audrey.
Thank you very much. Jessica, do you have anything more to add?
Nope, I don't think so. Did I miss anything? Anyone from our committee? Nope.
Madam Chair and Audrey, I'd like to, I'm sure that this has been covered, but does the property owner of the Boise Meridian Co-op, are they taking this seriously? Or do they think, oh, it's just some kind of goofy thing going on with art? Have they been given a date certain for getting back to us, or are they just going to drag this thing on forever?
Madam Chair, this is Emily again. I am in touch with their lawyers, and it's my impression they're taking it very seriously, hence perhaps the delay. So I have not given them a date certain, but that's a great idea. We've been in touch in the last, I believe, 2 or 3 weeks, and he assures me that he's moving forward as quickly as he can. So I'm not sure exactly what the holdup is on their end, but I can tell you they have told me they're working on it.
Madam Chair, I would also just like to point out, Audrey, based on what you told me, we need to have at least some sort of idea or commitment for where that mural is going to go by the end of the fiscal year in order for us to be able to use the funds for that mural. Is that right?
That has been my understanding, but we can talk to the finance department and see and explain our situation and see if they have any feedback.
Okay, because that would be my concern if we're, this is taking a while with the Boise Co-op, and I appreciate that they're taking it seriously, but if they are going to decide to to not work with us on the mural, then we would need enough time to be able to find another location if we do have that restriction of when we can use the funds.
Okay, is there any further discussion about that? I guess Emily, we'll wait to hear back from you.
Madam Chair, yes, I will. I would like to have great news for you at the next meeting, but I'll update you either way.
Thank you. All right, the next item will be new business, and that is the administrative update, the roles and responsibilities of the Arts and Culture Coordinator.
Madam Chair, is there an update on the public art plan that's on your agenda as well?
I thought that
Yeah, I covered that.
she did.
We're having
Oh,
our-
sorry.
Sorry.
I missed it then.
We're going to have a workshop in October to.
Oh, I did hear you say that.
on
Okay,
that.
sorry.
No
Thank
worries.
you.
All right. So on to the presentation.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Right. Can everyone see my fancy presentation? Madam Chair, members of the commission, my name is Emily Kane. I'm a deputy city attorney and you should all know me. Thank you for having me here to talk about this. Surprisingly intellectually intense exercise, and I really appreciate that opportunity. And I would encourage everyone to treat this as a discussion. This is a text and information dense presentation, but it's really intended to put all the information that we have, or that I have rather, about the kind of legal underpinnings of the Meridian Arts Commission and just sort of your structure and how that lends itself to operations now and maybe in the future. So I'm also, the best presenter in the room. That's why I've been selected. No, that's not true at all, but I'll do my best. So today we're going to talk about, or I'm planning to talk about the history of the Meridian Arts Commission, past to present, the history of staff support for the Meridian Arts Commission. I've established kind of a framework of how we can look at our roles and functions. I'd like to talk to you about how other city commissions are set up and how their roles work, and then move that into the Meridian Arts Commission and your committees. And then possibly we'll talk about next steps and what the next steps might look like. So as you begin all your meetings to kind of reviewing the mission of the Meridian Arts Commission, I wanted to do that as well. Of course, it is, as Bonnie said, to develop, advance, and nurture all facets of the arts to enhance the quality of life for Meridian residents and visitors. And we're all on the same team. We're all about the mission. We're all moving forward to advance this mission. So that's hopefully the touch point for this conversation, is we're really all working toward this mission. All right, the history of the Meridian Arts Commission. So in 2006, the Meridian Arts Commission was established. By the next year, 2007, 6 members were appointed to serve. And by 2009, the commission had been really busy. Many firsts. Initial Point Gallery had opened when City Hall first opened. We had our first concerts on Broadway. The first public art was installed in the lobby of City Hall, Origins. We partnered with the Missoula Children's Theater and the Meridian Symphony Orchestra. And we also installed the permanent art collection in City Hall Art and Public Spaces. It was the year of the first 5-year strategic plan. And the next year we added our youth commissioner. And in the next 5 years, we had some more firsts, our first traffic box art, first art walk. We partnered with Treasure Valley Children's Theater, and it was already time for a new strategic plan. 2015 was a banner year because the MAPS ordinance was passed and the full complement of the Arts Commission was seated, 9 commissioners. The first mural was installed at the Zamzows Mill in 2018. And the commission also structured set up its standing committees, the Strategic Plan Committee, Events and Outreach, and Public Art. Again, it's time for another strategic plan, your third 5-year strategic plan. We also celebrated another first with the Mayor's Awards in the Arts. In 2020, you achieved your strategic plan goal of having online meetings and making your meetings more accessible far and wide. The Arts Commission adopted its arts acquisition policy. The Strategic Plan Committee fell off and became the Initial Point Gallery Committee. Excuse me. And we completed our public art survey with the help of VIA partnerships. So today, the Meridian Arts Commission is 15, and you're still doing most of these kind of legacy events and programs to fulfill your mission. I would like to point out, to make this a little more personal, my son and the Meridian Arts Commission were born in the same month, and he is going to high school on Monday. So that's 15 years. A lot can happen. All right, now the history of the staff that is assigned to support the Meridian Arts Commission. So in 2006, you had, yours truly was the staff support for the Arts Commission. Of course, I was assigned to serve in a legal role and provide legal support as I do today, but I was really the only tie that the Meridian Arts Commission had to the city through staff. So I did provide quite a bit of non-legal support, and that was, I learned a lot, of course. That was not in my skill set, and I guess now maybe I could say that it is. But the number of hours that I was supposed to dedicate to that, or I guess on paper, was 0. It was really kind of, I took the initiative here at the City of Meridian. We go the extra mile to make things happen. And so that was part of that kind of culture more than what I was assigned to do. That went on for 7 years. And finally, we added a committed administrative staff to help more with the admin piece of what needed to be done. That person was actually in the human resources and IT department. So that, and I believe it was a part-time position, and they dedicated 5 hours a week to the Meridian Arts Commission. That had, I would say, limited success because really the Arts Commission needed more dedicated staff time to fulfill all the many programs that we were just discussing. It's a very busy commission. So in 2015, the arts and culture specialist was appointed, Hillary. She was in the finance department, another kind of weird fit. And she was assigned to dedicate about 15 hours a week to MAC. She was also doing jobs for finance still. So that was one of the more odd combinations, but it really did work. In 2018, that position was moved to the clerk's office, and she was assigned to dedicate about 20 hours a week to the Meridian Arts Commission. In 2020, the position landed in its current, and I think correct home, the Parks and Recreation Department. And of course, that is our Audrey. We're so grateful that she's here. and she dedicates 30 to 40 hours a week to the Meridian Arts Commission. Her duties also include providing support to the Historic Preservation Commission, but MAC is really the bulk of her time there. The takeaway from this really is that that position continued to grow, and the city deepened its investment in the Meridian Arts Commission in terms of staffing throughout these 15 years. So the framework that I've been working with to kind of look at the different roles of everybody involved in fulfilling the mission of the Arts Commission looks like this. So there are four roles: an executive function, operational role, administrative role, and the subject matter experts. So this works in terms of all our various commissions, including the Arts Commission. The responsibility of the executive role, the party in the executive role, is to establish the city's vision for, in your case, arts programming in Meridian. The operational role fulfills the city's vision through action, so does things to make that vision happen. The administrative role is, of course, clerical and support functions to implement the operational actions. And then subject matter experts, of course, share their expertise and make recommendations. I've prepared for you an illustration of this framework as kind of a metaphor. So the executive role, they establish the destination, so they determine where we're going. The operational role, they decide how will we get there, what route will we take, what kind of car will we drive, where are we going to stop along the way, and what kind of snacks are we going to take with us. The subject matter experts know the road the best. They know where to go to see the best scenery. They know the pitfalls to avoid, how to avoid the traffic. They know the best car that we can take to get to our destination, the best places to stop to make it really memorable, and they know how to make the best sandwiches. Administrative, as you can guess, they're kind of the Radar O'Reilly of this metaphor. They bring the maps, they fill the gas tank, bring the car, make sure we have the right car. They make restaurant reservations, which I don't know if you've been out there, but you need them at this point. And the administrative role makes the sandwiches and packs the beverages. So this is the framework that I'm going to use to discuss our different roles. So as a kind of study of comparisons, the Planning and Zoning Commission, now this commission has a quasi judicial role as well. So this framework doesn't fit as to all of their functions, but as far as their sort of planning and visionary functions, this is where I'm going with this. The executive role in this case is city council. The operational role is fulfilled by city staff in our planning department. The administrative role is also in our planning department, city staff, and our subject matter expert is the Planning and Zoning Commission. So they make, they're experts in their field, they share their expertise and make recommendations to the executive branch. Likewise, the Solid Waste Advisory Commission, City Council is the executive. City staff is our operational role. We have a solid waste coordinator. We have city staff and Public Works provides administrative support to the commission. And the Solid Waste Advisory Commission are our subject matter experts in waste management and recycling. Of course, our Parks and Recreation Commission, similar story. There's a theme developing. Our executive role is fulfilled by City Council, operational by city staff. We have a number of Parks and Recreation employees and managers. Our administrative function is also fulfilled by city staff in the Parks and Rec department. and our subject matter experts are in the Parks and Recreation Commission. I wanted to add that our, as subject matter experts, sometimes that just means people who live in Meridian or are familiar with Meridian and its needs. So, you know, it's somewhat hard to find planning and zoning experts and solid waste experts and Parks and Recreation experts. Really, we look to our commissions as our as citizen representatives in each of these subject areas. They provide us with that input, and in many cases, we do have true professional experts on our commissions, as is the case with the Arts Commission, but we need all of those roles. We also have a Transportation Commission. Again, that bottom line is the same. City Council is our executive visionary. Operational tasks are undertaken by city staff. Our planning staff has a transportation coordinator. Administrative is also city staff, and subject matter experts are transportation. So here we are, we've arrived at the Arts Commission. The city council establishes our vision for the arts programming in Meridian, and they've done that in our ordinances and comprehensive plan and the citywide strategic plan. That, of course, is city council. Operational functions are fulfilled by both the commission and city staff. I'll talk a little bit more about that. Administrative functions are fulfilled by city staff in the arts and culture coordinator. And you, of course, are our subject matter experts. So you'll see that this particular box is a little bit different for the Meridian Arts Commission. It's largely because of the way that the commission has developed that history, where we're really relying on our commission to be the doers and the worker bees, and city staff is in a more supportive role. Over the years, we've kind of grown to invest more of that operational function within city staff, partly by necessity, sometimes by direct delegation, but it's sort of an amorphous evolution of those roles, which is part of why it's kind of challenging to strictly define them. But it's that history, that context that really matters for this box. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. Now the super exciting legal stuff. The Meridian City Code has a general chapter that is about all the commissions, and then each commission has their own chapter. So the general chapter says, among other things, that commissions are all advisory. They make recommendations to the mayor and city council in their subject matter area. And the actions of the commission are overseen by mayor and city council. It says that all commissions have a council member liaison. It's an ex officio member, as a member of the city attorney's office to provide legal support, and a designated staff member for support assigned to each commission. That provision also says, or rather that chapter also says, that the budget is administered by the city department or staff liaison that is assigned to that commission, to each commission. So this is the Meridian City Code section 222, is the kind of heart of the legal underpinnings of the Meridian Arts Commission. As comic relief, I will tell you that, have you heard this? That 2/2/22, so February 22nd, 2022 is on a Tuesday. I looked it up and it's true. So think of that when you think of your city code section. I'd like to not read these to you, but we're doing a bit of a deep dive into this subject. So I'm going to kind of spend a little bit of time in the code. So bear with me. The Arts Commission is authorized to assess the needs of the community with regard to arts make that information available to City Council. The Arts Commission is to stimulate awareness and appreciation of art and its benefits to the community, encourage the growth and preservation of art resources, foster the development of a receptive climate for the arts, and promote self-sustaining arts programs within the city. Review and advise the City Council on the aesthetic aspects of works of art to be accepted or commissioned by the city. Promote the development of and general information and encouragement to other cultural organizations, artists, and institutions. So these little notes by each of the provisions are kind of my take on the role that this code represents or discusses. So section, you'll see there's some operational verbs in here. I think section 1 has some operational aspects. Section 2, there's also some clearly subject matter expert functions in these provisions. So there's a bit of a blend. Again, it goes back to your history, how you began. The Arts Commission was really conceived as sort of a doer, an operational arm of the city, also a subject matter expert role. But over time, that some of these functions have really been assigned back to city staff or taken on as a matter of necessity. But moving on, we're halfway there. The rest of that code says, the Arts Commission is authorized to seek and encourage financial support, including grants, loans, and guarantees to artists, art institutions, and organizations sponsoring art activities. The Arts Commission recommends to City Council the employment or contracting of other parties for services. 8 says that the Arts Commission will prepare and submit budgetary recommendations to City Council, cooperate with federal, state, and local organizations to pursue the objectives of this chapter of the Arts Commission, and recommend ordinances and otherwise provide information to advance publicly accessible arts in the city. So again, there's a lot of operational verbs in here. Especially number 8, it talks about budgetary recommendations. That's really a vestige of a time before even the overarching catch-all, all commissions, city code provisions. It is somewhat of a conflict, but it also is an interesting hearkening back to when the Arts Commission was considered to be completely independent and going to City Council to ask for funding. That and number 6 is also about money, the Arts Commission seeking grants and different external funding sources, which of course has to go through the city in part so that we can comply with the terms of those programs. But again, sort of a blend. Again, I'm going back to, again, the history so you can consider the evolution of the arts and culture coordinator position in the context of that, the city code provisions. I know it was a lot of text and information, but again, the operational aspects of even the city code have really been taken on by necessity by city staff. Some of those functions do need to be done by the city and have successfully been done by city staff for years. So again, we're back to this kind of confusing box. And this is the explanation for why this box is unlike the other commissions. It has both commission and city staff. That's really a shared role just over time. So you thought that was a lot of text before. Check this out. I know that I've broken the rule of all presentations. And again, please don't read it. I'll email this to everyone and you can review it in more depth if you wish to. But I tried to catalog all the different functions that are in the context of this example, initial point gallery. So the Arts Commission has for 15 years, or I guess a little less than that. But since Initial Point Gallery began, the Arts Commission has been active in making that a beautiful place and a really special place for the entire city of Meridian and the employees at Meridian City Hall as one of those employees. Of course, it takes a lot to make it look that easy. There are a lot of administrative functions and that all makes sense. We have to communicate and coordinate. There are a number of operational functions to compose the criteria for the call to artists, set the timeline, kind of make these decisions that help us, that make it possible for us to accept artists' applications and select artists from that pool. The operational functions are really about making decisions about how to get there. So remember, it's what kind of car do we need? What exactly do we need to get to the goal? The subject matter experts, in this case, the Meridian Arts Commission, the commission recommends this slate of selected exhibits and makes recommendations regarding how the gallery is used. And then, of course, there's the kind of meeting functions. How do we get together and talk about this so that the public can be a part of that discussion? The executive functions are really about overseeing how that space is used. So not just for art, but for other uses. It's pretty occasional in the case of Initial Point Gallery, in that it just doesn't happen very often, but the use of city-owned space is an executive function. So that's more of a city council and really a mayor. City Hall is sort of the mayor's office. So he's the CEO of that space and makes those sorts of decisions. And I did it again with Concerts on Broadway, apologies. But I want to, I guess at this point, make the point that the arts and culture specialist is providing both the administrative functions and fulfilling, with some exceptions, and I would say really one or two exceptions, the operational functions as well. So already, as to both of these examples, Audrey is really providing support, but also in some cases getting the job done, in part because it can't wait a month. We can't just wait for the board to meet and make decisions and direction about things like, the composition of the call to artists. Of course, it's also very collaborative to the extent that we, no matter what, whenever these functions are getting done by staff, that's happening in concert with the commission. But it is a staff function, and in most cases appropriately so, with again, one or two exceptions. And same story with almost everything we do, but these are two examples of how that is the case. There's a lot to do, of course. There's many moving parts, and Audrey's not doing it alone by any stretch, but she does have these things on her list of tasks, and she is responsible for making sure that they get done. So, quick word about committees. So committees are governed by the Meridian Arts Commission bylaws. I paraphrased a little bit, so you're of course welcome to read this provision of your bylaws, but it says that the commission chair, with the commission's approval, establishes the subcommittees as necessary or helpful to assist or advise the commission in the performance of its functions or furtherance of its mission. So the purpose of the committees is to do kind of those deeper dives and more research and get farther into a subject or a project that is difficult to do with in this particular forum. Each subcommittee has to have at least 2 commissioners. It needs to have a chair, and then the commission chair, so Bonnie, or the committee chair or the mayor can appoint citizens or public officials to serve as members of subcommittees. I did it again, but I made the text a little bit bigger. The executive functions, it's not that they drop off, but they're a few layers above the committees. So the administrative functions are about the same, mostly related to meetings. The operational functions are fewer, and the subject matter expert functions are greater because committees, again, are doing that deeper dive. So the committees are providing a lot of input and a lot of collaborative work, again, with working collaboratively with staff and other involved parties. This is kind of an example with the mural series. And the committee, as we've heard, collaborates with the different parties and keeps an eye on what's going on, where we are in each project, and provides that really valuable subject matter expertise to help us get the job done. Okay, so I'd like to move the discussion, if I could, toward what will we do next? How can we resolve some of that? I don't think confusion is the right word, but some of the, I'll say confusion. Some of the confusion that comes up regarding who does what, who fulfills specifically that operational role. We do have the commission and city staff. It's rarely an issue, though it does occasionally, nothing really, we don't drop any balls, so we don't have a concern with that, but sometimes we are stepping on each other's toes. So we're really trying to work through that and clarify some of this. It's a question that's come up before over the years, but I think we're at a point in the growth of the Meridian Arts Commission that I think we can really bring some clarity to this question. What I would propose is that we work toward a model that is more like our other commissions, now that we have more staffing resources on board and a full complement on the commission, and move this more towards city staff as kind of the leader in this position. So how would that look? In the initial point gallery example, so this green bold-faced tiny little print says select artist from pool of applications. So this is again, the arts and culture coordinator is already doing these administrative functions and all of the operational functions in white. This bold print would be something that would be added to that list of tasks and kind of authority, again, collaboratively working with, in this case, probably the members of the initial point gallery committee to do all these things, but to have a voice in selecting artists from the pool of applications that are submitted in response to the call to artists. So of all these things, it really is one, I don't know if I would even call it a change. It's a minor shift in how we're working together to select artists for initial point gallery. The other, I'm not sure what we would notice, even if we did make this kind of shift in mindset, because all these other functions are already being fulfilled by this position. Again, not alone, certainly lots of collaboration, and sometimes, we take turns or trade off or, share the load. but this would be the one that would change in this example. Likewise, with the Concerts on Broadway example, all the things that the arts and culture coordinator is already tasked with doing, this the city would then have a voice in selecting the musicians and opening acts. Again, that's in working closely with, in this case, Leslie, and figuring out how to do that together. It happens largely this way anyway. Really, this is a bit of a stretch to put it in boldface, because we are, especially with the contracts that we have with our musicians, we do really work together on this function anyway. But that is something that would change slightly, I think, in this model where staff takes on more of the operational role as a leader, again, collaborate in full collaboration with the Arts Commission. So I've reached the end. The possible next steps and my request for input from you. This is sort of a menu of possible ways that you could approach this information that I've provided. So the first way in this upper left corner is to hop on board and say, yep, we want city staff to be the operational role, to be primarily responsible for those operational functions. Still, again, collaborate with the Arts Commission, consult, but really put the value in the Arts Commission as the subject matter experts to provide expertise and guidance in fulfilling those operations. The upper right idea is to kind of continue sharing these operational tasks, but maybe be more deliberate in figuring out what are these tasks and who will be the responsible party. So we're not kind of coming around the corner and surprising each other. That would just involve a little more list making, I think, and communication. In the lower left corner is the idea of maybe you need to learn more. Maybe this was a lot of information and you're not ready to make a decision, which is completely understandable. Maybe you need more information, and I do, of course, have more and happy to share it. You can ponder and revisit. I ran into our strategic performance analyst on the way down. And when I saw him, I remembered that he is himself an expert in making the lists of what does it take to make concerts on Broadway, for example, happen. And so he is really good at leading a discussion of that, how to figure out all the different pieces and all the different parts and whose role will be what moving forward. I don't think he's really an efficiency expert, but he fulfills a lot of those same roles to kind of figure out who, I guess, realize efficiencies. Another idea that goes with that is you could form a roles and responsibilities committee. I don't know who would volunteer for that, but I will say I've had some really insightful conversations with Jessica and with Tom, and they've really helped me to grow in my understanding of this topic. So I'm sorry to throw you under the bus in the event that you do decide to do that, but that's a possibility. And then, of course, anything else, these are really just my ideas. So if there are other ideas, you are in the driver's seat. If you have any questions, I will ironically email this to you, and then you'll have my email address anyway. But if you have any questions right now, you're welcome to email me or call. And I think that's it. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Does anybody have any questions they would like to ask of Audrey? I'm sorry, of Emily?
Madam Chair, this is Lizzie. Yes, I do. This was kind of way above my pay grade. I haven't been involved in situations where there's been so much effort put into something, and it was very well presented, Emily. Thank you. I worry a little bit that if city staff becomes part of the IPG selection process, does city staff say, oh, yes, I'd like to do that? Or is city staff, on the other hand, told you are going to be doing that? And what city staff, I mean, how does this city staff liaison thing work? Because if I were on the staff of an entity, let's say Meridian, the city of Meridian, and told that I was going to be part of the selection process for a gallery in which I have potentially zero interest, I would not take well to that.
Madam Chair, Lizzie, that's a good question. And to clarify, the operational function in this case would be fulfilled by Audrey. So it would be the arts and culture coordinator, someone who's familiar with the work of the commission. And that person would serve as kind of the voice of the city and bring that I guess would have an understanding of the city culture and kind of be there to, I can't imagine employees coming to Audrey and saying what kind of art they might like to see, but kind of the voice of the people who come in and out of City Hall, and she would be connected to that. That's the idea. I agree. It would definitely need to be someone who's very interested in the gallery and in art.
Madam Chair and Emily, I have a question. Emily, thank you for this was a very well thought out presentation, and really appreciate all the effort that you put into kind of explaining. It was good to hear about the history as one of the longer serving members of the commission, which I still feel like a newbie. So it's good to have some history and some context there. I'm just interested in if you could explain a little bit more about what benefit you would expect that, or why would you be suggesting a change that would invite a city staff member to participate in those deliberations? Is it what's the need, or is there a problem that we're trying to solve? Is there a concern that we're trying to address? What is the sort of reason for this change?
Madam Chair, members of the commission. So this came up kind of in a real life example. So in the course of looking at the pool of applicants for Initial Point Gallery this year, there was some question about what is Audrey's role and what is that position's role in kind of evaluating that art and making recommendations. That really kind of started the conversation, and we started looking at where are we, what should happen right this minute, and what informs that. So is it city code? Is it the kind of the plan for the Arts Commission that city staff would be completely out of that process? Or is it the plan that city staff would be more, I guess, directly involved in that decision-making process? So that kind of spurred, it's not a problem at all. It's just that was kind of the impetus for talking about who does what and what do we want to see? Where are we in our history, and what does the context kind of suggest might be the next step in our evolution? It's an interesting case of history repeating itself, because almost all of the commissions that I talked about went through something very similar, that they were kind of entities unto themselves. And then as their value became more and more apparent, the city really absorbed some of those functions into its own organization. And so I see some of that happening here as well. But it's because of that sort of unique history it's really not clear in this case who does what. So I guess I'm proposing it mostly for clarity. I think, and that's really my recommendation, but it's, we're looking again for input.
Thank you. I have kind of just a follow-up question on that. So I don't foresee this happening anytime soon, but you know, as not everyone has the same taste or ideas or vision for art or for performances or whatever. So if it were to come up that the city staffer and the other members of the commission had a difference of opinion about which artists or performers or whatever to select, how would that decision be made?
Madam Chair, Commissioner, that's a good question. And I think that's probably likely that, I mean, art does inspire dialogue. And I think in this hypothetical, so it's really still a collaborative process. So even if the arts and culture coordinator has a voice, I'm not suggesting that they be in charge. So it's really in this proposal, the arts and culture coordinator would be sort of a, I guess I'll just say it would have a vote. So that would be a meaningful representation on that panel and in that decision-making process. I say meaningful, substantive, a more direct contribution. So I actually hope that there is some disagreement among groups that are selecting art, because I think that is part of the process. It's dialogue, and disagreement, I think in most cases helps us pick kind of a good product. And if not, then we learn a lesson and move on. But what I'm proposing, if there were a conflict between the rest of the committee or the deciding body and the arts and culture coordinator, it would really still be majority rules. This would just vest some authority to speak in the staff member.
Madam Chair, Emily, can we go back to the screen of initial point gallery suggestion? The one that had the blue, yeah, so.
Oh, there it is.
So, or.
Oh, is this,
which one?
would you like initial point gallery?
You know, yeah, because of the situation that we got in with having to cancel and then having to kind of do things quickly this year because we didn't know if we were going to be able to do it. I don't think the concerts on Broadway is the best example to use. But in this scenario, so we have operational functions. The thing that's been brought up and not added to subject matter is the select artists from pool of applications. My suggestion is, since it is collaborative and since, you know, and you're right, art is subjective. Art is also, we cannot lose sight of the fact that art is also a profession that has a specific skill set on the technical side, on the visual art side, on the mural side, and on the music side. Even technically what works in a space, this is something that's learned over years of time and in school. So my suggestion would be to share those two duties, to keep those, to not take it out of the subject matter expert, and to add it up there. That's more reflective of how it's kind of, in my mind, how it's evolved since this, well, I haven't been on the commission all the years, but I was there when Hillary got brought on, and I was there when you were juggling everything. And I have seen how it's just grown and grown. We just need to keep in mind the creative direction that the Meridian, such as the very first, and I'm just getting a little bit historical, the very, very first meeting I ever attended was when we used to get together. It was in December, which was hard to schedule. You were there, Emily, and we would choose the visual art. We would jury the visual art for the gallery. And I was surprised that I didn't have less than half a vote because I'm not a visual artist. That's not my area of expertise. So I always deferred and listened very carefully to the things that the professional visual artists in the room were saying, simply because I love to learn. And I've learned so much more about visual art. I know so much more now than I did then, but that doesn't make me a visual artist. Does that make sense? And so to share those, I think would keep the experts in the room. And I don't consider myself an expert in visual art. I've learned, but does that make sense?
Madam Chair, Commissioner, it certainly made sense to me. I guess while you were talking, I made an edit to this operational function to say participate, because it really is, this was a cut and paste, and then I bolded that line from the kind of how it is now. But really, again, that collaborative piece, it is participate. And I really appreciate what you're saying. And I too have learned over the years, and there's much value in both the expertise that our commissioners bring to the commission, as well as, it's value in that expertise, but also, again, you live in Meridian. So what do you want to see in Meridian? And it's okay just to like something. Mm-hmm. So that sort of, in my case, not educated in the substance of these decisions, I still, as a citizen, I have things that I like. So that our commissioners who are not arts professionals, or who are professionals in a different area of the arts, I would say I don't think it's a counterpoint, but maybe a compliment to what you're saying, is that that is a valuable part of the subject matter expertise as well, even if you're not a subject matter expert in visual arts.
Madam Chair, Emily, I agree with all of that, because art is subjective. I think the combination of those two skill sets, because sometimes people who aren't professionals can bring some objectivity that does come from the community, and subjectivity is, it brings a good balance to those two things, as long as we're collaborating. Does that make sense?
I'm Chair, Commissioner, it certainly does to me.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably what, by having a broad base of skill sets on the commission, that lends to that, and people can choose to be on the committees for the most part, unless they're filled, and be part of that process. I think that the people, if you're not a visual artist and you're on the gallery committee, you certainly have a valuable role as someone who appreciates visual art, as you said, Leslie. And I think that's important. I do feel a little bit that the staff person should be there to support the commissioners in their roles as selecting the art. And I think that's true with the Public Art Subcommittee and also the Events Committee too. I'm not an expert in theater, but I would enjoy it, and if I was on that committee, I would certainly appreciate the fact that I have input. So I guess that's my take.
Madam Chair, do you want to go first, Tom?
Thank you. Yes, Madam Chair, I have some initial thoughts to everything that Emily presented. Emily, thank you for the history and the analogies, because they're really quite powerful. And I'd like to point out a couple of thoughts at the analogies of the other commissions, and it's been stated by some of the other commissioners here, is truly more about objective results than subjective. And you've already heard from the other commissioners how art is subjective. However, that's not the full equation. Art is subjective, but there are fundamental objective elements in art that you would definitely want to embrace from your subject matter experts. And where this becomes critical, and I speak from a real world application, living every day. And I'm requesting for everybody's indulgence. Forgive me for using this analogy, but I've been sitting here thinking you're going to be able to absolutely relate to what I'm about to say. When you go to Disneyland, and I choose that specifically, at the end of your experience, you're going to stay very late because you want to see the nighttime spectacular parade. That parade has been created, and I will use Emily's examples, has been created by the subject matter experts. They have created the parade based on objective and subjective criteria best fitting the needs of the executives, the executive vision. Great. So you go and you basically experience a 45-minute to almost an hour-long parade. And in that parade, for this conversation, let's say you have 10 parade units, floats. They're called units, but we'll call them floats. Halfway through the summer, the executive body comes and says, attendance is down. So we need to save money, cut something. The executives will say that to operations, because operational functions will always trump the subject matter experts, always. Because they have to operate it. They have to get the paper signed. They have to make sure the floats move, ... It will always trump the experts. But what a company like Disney has learned is, if that's the case, operations cannot just go forward. They must come back to the experts and say, what is the creative intent and how do we maintain the creative intent without disturbing, but knowing that you have to cut something because attendance is down. And what operations is saying to you, the way that we can save money is we're going to cut 5 floats. Whoa, hold up. That means you're only going to have an experience of 5 parade units. And maybe one of those that you want to cut is the hero float. And the hero float is what has the Fab 5 on it. That's Mickey is always at the end. It's called the hero float. Mickey and all of his friends are always at the end. You can't cut that. You cannot cut that, because then you'll have mass turmoil with the expectation of your guests. So using Emily's example, yes, we know we have an executive function, absolutely, without a doubt. And this commission is the subject matter experts, but not just subjectively. This commission has objective knowledge and experience that helps the operational, that goes back to fulfilling the mission of the executives. And I think in some of the examples you posed, it's just not moving this for that. And I know that you've said multiple times that it's collaborative. Absolutely. But I'd like to tag on to Jessica's thought, because in protecting our existing, our voice, which is Audrey, to protect her, if the experts, the subject matter experts say, we have to do X, Y, and Z for this subject matter. And she takes that to her superiors, and her superiors say, no, we're not doing that. Audrey has a reporting responsibility to follow their high direction. So now we have put Audrey in this really bad position. And what I'm looking for as we move forward is clarity, so we don't do that. We cannot place Audrey in that position. We must respect her skill set and what she brings. But if she's the operational and the executives tell the operational to go cut 5 floats and she cuts 5 floats, the subject matter experts are going to go, hold up, why did you cut those 5 floats? So I'm not hearing any solution to and I'll go back to one of your other examples, your analogies of one of the other commissions. Let's say it's the, I don't know if it was the Planning Commission or for this conversation, let's say it's the Planning Commission and they're building a new road. They're going to widen Eagle Road, right? Here, we're going to widen Eagle Road, which we already know is happening. They go to the subject matter experts. Yes, 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 yes. Pretty objective though. The subjective is how much more wide does it need to be? Is it going to be 6 lanes, 4 lanes? They support that decision with data, which we have done in our growth pattern. Great. So then it goes from the subject matter, it goes to operations. But at no time do the experts have to come back in because it's all operations. Now, if we take that same example and we turn it into an art piece, and now let's say we're going to do an art installation of asphalt road. And it's going to be a representation of the Eagle Road widening. How big is that representation going to be? How long is it going to be? Now you're in subjective world. And so your analogies of your other commissions, I appreciate how you really have identified that it's not apples to apples. It truly is not. And so what I'm hoping that we get to, I'm giving you all of this food, this fodder, is that we get to a solution that addresses what I really need to hear of how do we truly collaborate with the city without putting our voice, which is our coordinator, in jeopardy.
Madam Chair.
Emily?
Tom, I really appreciate that. I think you make many good points. Among them that the Arts Commission is unique. It really is a somewhat silly exercise to compare the Arts Commission in many ways to the Transportation Commission or the Solid Waste Advisory Commission. So it is indeed more complex. So while the analogy stands, I like and appreciate what you're saying about the subjective and objective nature of their kind of respective decisions and realms. And I also liked thinking about Disneyland. That was great. That was helpful. I've been there and I like it and I like the parade. So I think we're, again, kind of working toward the same point. Finally, I appreciate what you're saying about that kind of tension that can arise when we don't have clarity in our roles, that if there's direction for staff to do one thing and staff is really not empowered to do that, that can create some tension, and that has definitely come up in the context of the Arts Commission. Not recently, I would say, and it's we work it out, but I think we do kind of sort that out on a somewhat ad hoc basis. So it's a timely conversation to figure out who's doing what, who's responsible, and who's empowered to make these decisions. With regard to the, I guess I understand the perspective of it's just incredible education and training and experience that goes into being an arts professional, and that's never undervalued or unappreciated by the city. I have to say that's something that the city of Meridian, in my experience, has always really valued that and really is grateful for that input to our various arts programs. At a hallmark I've learned of arts programming and public art is definitely including stakeholders in that process. And so this is also part of that, to kind of include the city as a stakeholder in the arts programming. I'm not sure that that's completely related, Tom, to what you were saying, but I think we are on our way to being on the same page.
Madam Chair, thank you for indulging me. and to all the commission and Emily, thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair and other commissioners, et cetera. In my several thousands of years of experience in the business world, I have come to learn that ad hoc is not necessarily bad. And given the subjective nature of the things that we deal with on the Meridian Arts Commission, that is art, maybe we don't need to make it so compartmentalized that person X must do this, that, or the other thing. And if person X is not comfortable doing it, that person X has to report to person X's superior. That's not what art is about. I don't want the commission to get so kind of hidebound in objectivity. We are not dealing with waste management or hard things. We're dealing with art in all of its forms. Thank you for your indulgence.
You're welcome. Thank you. Does anybody have any other comments?
Madam Chair, I have a question, and maybe this is a conversation for another time, so for those of you at home, we have Steve Sidaway here from the Parks Department. Looking at everything, this is sort of a conversation that Audrey and I have had, and I've been thinking about a lot as one of the longer serving members of the commission, and I've really seen how we've grown, and it really has been so wonderful. And I'll just keep saying it again and again, how appreciative I am of every commissioner who really puts in the time and dedication to the arts in Meridian. And it's been really fun to see how much we've grown. Emily, you noted that we have these 5-year strategic plans. And so we're sort of midway through our current strategic plan, and that was a pared down version. I think we had a lot of big dreams and recognized that we're limited in terms of our time and resources. And I think, especially as of late, when we've had more commissioners who have been coming up with these great ideas and having big dreams about what to do with the Arts Commission and where to take it in the future. And the things that we do now clearly take up so much staff time. I mean, Audrey barely, I think, has the time for what we do, and it also involves financial folks and legal folks and other administrative folks. I mean, it's, we really kind of touch a lot of different parts, and maybe even sort of the planning aspect of things as well. So I kind of wanted to get a sense, and like I said, maybe this is a conversation for another time, but I wanted to get a sense from you, Steve, and Audrey, and whoever else. Now that, so Audrey has been with us for about 1.5 years, and the Arts Commission has been with Parks and Rec, and so things are different, and so we're trying to learn about what we're doing and where we're going. And so I wonder if you could speak to sort of what your vision is for the arts in Meridian, and your thoughts on how to support that, whether we can continue to dream big, given the limited resources that we have.
Madam Chair, this is Steve.
Yes, Steve, thank you.
You bet. I'd be glad to lend a voice. I'm here primarily to listen, and this has been very educational for me, and I really appreciate hearing the perspectives. And I think we're on the same page. So I am here because I believe in your mission. I, as the director, want to do what I can to help you to nurture the arts in the community, to improve our citizens' quality of life. And I believe that art in all of its forms, whether it's physical art or music or all these different things that you guys do, make life better for our community. And my goal is nothing more than to help us collectively figure out how to be more effective and more efficient in achieving that mission. So I very much want to help facilitate that. I want you to dream big. We do have limited resources. So in the face of big dreams, I do need Audrey to have the opportunity to say, I don't have the bandwidth to do that right now. That's real. But I don't want to let that keep us from having the conversations of what might be either, right? Because maybe we need more resources, or how do we get more funding, or how can we bring in an outside consultant to help us? I don't know. We are a solution-oriented department. So we believe in finding solutions when we find challenges. So I am agreeing with the conversations that I'm hearing. I've been taking some notes about objective versus subjective, and I can come up with parallels even with the Parks and Recreation Commission, with things that we do in designing playgrounds or things like that. But I think my main message is I truly value you as subject matter experts. And this is not in any way meant to be some kind of strange power grab to take authority away from the commission. So please know that is not even close to what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is figure out, how do we get the clarity? How do we define Audrey's role in this growing and changing environment as, we're going from an infant into our adolescent years as a commission. And I'm sure there'll be more growth and changes as we continue to grow as a commission and a department. I'm looking down at my notes. I do believe it's collaborative. I do think we need to define, I don't think, I'm really glad Emily changed the slide, because I don't think that was ever meant to say Audrey gets to decide on her own, right? No, it was meant to say Audrey gets to participate, but to have her decide on her own without the subject matter experts should not ever be an intent, I don't think. So I don't know. Does that answer your question? Feel free to ask me another one if I feel like I'm starting to ramble, so I'm going to stop.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Madam Chair, Steve, thanks for defining that. I agree with Tom on that it's something that wouldn't be fair to Audrey. It would just really, to not have it defined as a shared, and it is hard because it's a little bit different than some of the other commissions. You'd probably be better at, because I don't know city government, and I don't know, I don't know a lot about what you know, because I only know what I know. I'm pretty much a musician. That's just kind of what I do. But thank you. And Emily, I didn't thank you. This was amazing. I'm still thinking back to that initial slide and seeing all that history and remembering where I came in, and then remembering all these things when Jessica came in, it was particularly enjoyable for me to look at that history and see how far we've come. And thank you for clarifying the way other city departments and commissions work, because I've never really known that. It was absolutely so interesting. So anyway, I just want to say thank you.
Thanks, Leslie. Does anybody else have any comments, or questions, concerns?
Madam Chair, this is Natalie. Emily, thank you for the presentation. I was coming in thinking that maybe this was going to say that we all needed to like step up our game because Audrey has so much to do as the staff. So I guess I just want to clarify, are there things, I mean, everything we've gone through, the operational and administrative, those are all things that Audrey is kind of the only one that can do those things as the city staff member. Like I'm sure legally we all can't do some of those things, but I feel like there's so much on Audrey's plate. Are we, like, obviously the city is okay with having her spend her 30 to 40 hours on the art commission because that's what she's doing. I kind of was thinking this meeting was going to say she needed to spend less time. So I'm actually happy that it's going how it is. I'm just wondering, is there anything that us as commissioners can do more? As I feel like to feel like we are providing some sort of more support, or is it just kind of those little things in the subject matter expert section that we need to be doing? Does that, I don't know if I'm asking my question clearly, but.
Madam Chair,
Emily?
I appreciate that. You know, this exercise was kind of like that. Have you ever written the directions about how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? And it gets super long, and when you're done, you think, you kind of marvel at all the tiny little decisions that you made along the way. That's a little bit what's happening with these enormous lists, because, you know, it's, once you're doing the job, it's not as overwhelming as this might suggest. So that's part of it. But that's not to say that Audrey is anything less than amazing, because she truly does the work of more than one human being. So as far as answering your question about the what are some things that the Arts Commission could do? I mean, what a lovely question. We do have a really strong volunteer workforce at the City of Meridian, and the Arts Commission is definitely a part of that. I guess I'm not closely involved enough to answer that question in a substantive way, so I might defer to Audrey to see if she has any suggestions, or maybe that's something that would come up as we go.
Thanks, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I'm really grateful that we're having this discussion, and I think it's much needed and necessary. Similar to what everyone has said, and especially Steve said, that we're all trying to accomplish the same thing of helping the arts in Meridian grow. And for me right now, the way to help our current program grow is to increase our efficiency, which will then increase our effectiveness. And so I think part of the trouble is this confusion that of roles and responsibilities and everything. It's confusion takes time and it takes energy. And so by creating clarity, by having these discussions and making these decisions of exactly how we're going to be moving forward and what that will look like, that clarity will bring more efficiency, which will help things run smoother, which will create more time, which will create growth, and hopefully it will snowball from there. So my biggest what I'm hoping comes out of this is a way for the Arts Commission, for the arts coordinator to be our most efficient selves. And so whether that is by, like the first square says, operational city staff, where that's the city staff has the delegation and responsibility to take care of all operational things in conjunction with leaning heavily on subject matter experts to provide their input and expertise and counsel and advice in all of that, or whether we figure out a list of this is what I can take care of, this is what the Arts Commission takes care of, and leaving it at that so that we avoid the confusion that takes away in time and efficiency and provides clarity for everyone involved.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a suggestion for moving forward, because I think Emily was looking for us to kind of make a decision on an action. I would suggest that we have these discussions in our subcommittee meetings, because I think I don't want to apply a sort of a blanket approach or a one-size-fits-all kind of approach, because we do very different things in our subcommittees. So I would suggest that we take these to our subcommittee meetings, have some discussions about both where we can find some efficiencies and how we want to move forward, taking into consideration everything that we've heard today and how we operate within our committees.
So Madam Chair, Commissioners, we're on the great screen then, because that would come under ponder and revisit. So we revisit in the subcommittees and then we bring it back. I think that's a great suggestion.
Yeah. I agree. Thank you, Jessica. Any other comments?
Sorry, Madam Chair, do we need to vote on this, on an approach, or is it just sort of agreed? Okay.
Madam Chair, no, probably not necessary. It's
Okay.
fine to, if you're in consensus, that can be the direction.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Any other comments?
Madam Chair, Commissioners, just another big thanks to Emily for putting all this information together. It's a lot of work.
Yes, Emily, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. And thank you, Steve, for taking the time to come to the Arts Commission meeting today. That's appreciated. And Emily, I'm sorry, Audrey, for all you provide to us in your role. I know it's not easy. Anyway, if there's nothing else, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
I move we adjourn.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The meeting is adjourned and we will see everyone back for the next meeting, October 14th.
Okay, bye.
Thank you all for coming. Thanks for your participation in the committee.